So, today we got another model comparison of another game slash franchise that I have not played, but I'm very aware of and have great respect for. Hey guys, before we start, I'd like to thank all 1000 plus people who subscribe to the channel. You guys are the reason why I do this, and deciding to spend your time with me means the world. So, I'll be doing a Q&A video for the 1000 subscriber special, so if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me, just drop them in the comments below with the hashtag 1KQA so I can know it's for the special, and I'll answer them then. Thanks again, and let's get back to it. We will be looking at the models for Mehrunes Dagon, from the original and the remaster. And as always, thank you for your time and viewership. Let's get it. With Oblivion being an early 7th gen game, the original Dagon has around 9,000 polygons, while the remaster has about 86,000, well, close to 70,000 actually, and even though this may seem staggering, it's all within reason. See, the polygon limitations due to hardware restrictions kind of stopped being a thing around the 8 generations of game, and since then, polygon counts in mainstream games have been going slap a monkey butt cheek cuckoo bananas. Here, I'll show you what I mean. Compared to other models from the same game, Zivilai's model is about 7.1k polygons, with Spider Daedrus's model having a similar ranged poly count with about 7.8k. I personally find it a little funny that the skeleton has 2,000 more polygons than the previously mentioned models, coming in at 9.6k polygons, a lot closer to Dagon's, which is actually almost 4 to 5,000 more than the Lynch and Imp models, which both have around 5k each. At this point, I got curious to see if this was the standard range for open world games on 7th gen systems, so I decided to take a look at other game models from Oblivion's contemporaries, but in different genres, just for, comparison's sake. Batman's player model from Arkham Asylum that came out in 2009 has about 17,000 polygons, and that game is a third-person level-based type game, so all you're loading up is just like the level and the characters within that the level that you're playing at that point, so it makes sense. Bayonetta is close to 22k polygons, and that came out late 2009, early 2010, depending on what side of the Pacific Ocean you reside in. I chose this model because I wanted a game with a similar setup to Batman, as in level-based action kind of thing. Something not open world. You guys get it though. You guys get it. Which made me want to look up how many polygons Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War 1 has, which is around 11k. I assumed the polygonal difference in this game is because it came out in 2006, so much like Oblivion, it's also in the early stages of the 7th gen. However, I quickly realized that this might be a mistake, as Lightning's model from Final Fantasy XIII has 8k polygons, and that came out after Gears of War, in also around 2009-2010. So there can be a million reasons for this polygonal count difference, since it's really on a studio-to-studio basis, it seems. So again, this piqued my curiosity, so I wanted to compare it to another open world game. Wait, no, Final Fantasy XIII wasn't open world. It does have a free roam feature, but it's not open world per se. Sorry about that. So I went and got my hands on Mad Moxie's model from Borderlands 2, and she comes in just 100 polygons shy of around 15k. But how can I just committed cardinal sin. How can I talk about 7th gen open world game without talking about Grand Theft Auto 5? So I quickly grabbed Trevor's model to see how many polygons it has, and it came in just about 28k, which is 2,000k less than the GTA 3 Claude's definitive model. So you see that, Rockstar? You see that, Grove Street Games? You don't need 30 whole polygons to make a model look this bad. But I digress. So I came in thinking that all the 7th gen open world game character models are going to have a polygon count in the same range, but that doesn't seem to be the case. If anything, the pattern seems to show like the older the game is, the less polygons it's gonna have. So this leads us to the 8th and 9th gen, with player models such as Melina from Elden Ring's base form having about 70k polygons, Cloud Strife's model from the Final Fantasy VII remake having 125 polygons, which is only a couple of Ks of polygons away from Jin Kazama's model, which has 126,000 polygons. Omni-Man's model from Mortal Kombat 1 is almost 200,000 polygons. And to close it off, I just wanted to see how many polygons Spider-Man's model from the PS4 game has, and it has around 180k, proving my point that in the 8th and 9th gen, it doesn't matter how many polygons a model has. And I assure you, this is due to improvements in not only tech, but like optimization methods and the like. What matters is if it does what it's supposed to do as a model. And we will see how these models do what they're supposed to do in the next segment. So, Mehrunes Dagon is the big bad of the Oblivion games, and I mean, look at him. He's a big red dude with 4 arms. But wait. No offense to all the red people for assuming that he's just bad because he's red, but, in terms of overall design, I really enjoy the remasters modeling a lot more, which is the point of remastering a model, Rockstar Games. Sorry about that. My bad, y'all. The original Dagon looks like more of a goblin than a demon because of this goofy looking underbite and the massive teeth protruding from it. They totally overhauled this for the remaster, giving him a more regular looking mouth that in turn makes him look more demonic, which is better. Dagon is comprised of his head, the top armor, a body which has 4 arms, and this scale looking armor thing, lower trousers, that also has horns because he's evil. He's so evil, even his pants have horns. And a set of legs that has 2 toes on it each, and this Wolverine looking type clothing. The top armor has these little blocks that are just like rectangles placed on top of it, and the little bit on top to make it look like the thread that like connects to it. And I think that's I don't know, I find that so cute. It's just anyway, the lower part consists of the outer part that then is held up by these strings that make it look more savage, and then we got this Schmidt plate armor with the horns that come out slightly underneath it. But as you can see, they're both just one solid block. On the remaster model though, it's a lot more intricate, and I am a sucker for this type of intricate layered designs, as you remember from the Emma Frost model. In the remaster, we can clearly see the variation in materials, as these, this kind of what you get with shaders these days and how they work. The lower part, the skirting part, is comprised of not just one solid thing, but these layers that come across it, and the belt and this long overhand part is clearly looking like rusted metal. And I'm seriously digging this piece of loincloth underneath it that's just like a flat plane with an alpha map. This is very, very cool looking. Okay, I don't know how many times I'm gonna say that. Okay, I just think it looks neat. Okay, just sue me. The remaster model has more or less the same setup as the original, but they went crazy with the little like details and stuff that they modeled in. But let's start with the head. They added a few more horns on top and on the chin that make him look even more menacing, and sculpted these like serpent looking like bumps that give him that extra evil look to him. The top armor poncho looking thingy as a whole has a lot more details on it, like these chains that are actually individually made. You can pull something like this off very easily by making 1 or 2 chain links, arraying them along a curve, and then manipulating the curve to how you want it to be. GG, easy. You also have this metallic lining that's also modeled in, so it can properly appear as if it's, attached to the rest of the material. And I assume is some kind of demon leather that comes from cows that went to hell and their milk is black. And okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry. As a matter of fact, all the things that protrude, like these metal bits in the armor or horns on other parts of the body and things like that, have been modeled in, like into the mesh and into the topology of it, as opposed to just kind of being placed in there, which was the standard before. The only ones that have just kind of been placed there are the bolts on this claw armor thing, except for the last 2, which are closest to the hand. You can see that from this origin topology that they're actually connected into the mesh. The claw weapon, though, is also way more intricate, which I love. The remaster is made up of these, like, plates and metal plates that have each been modeled in and layered on top of each other, while the original one is just like a cylinder with the texturing. It's supposed to do all the work of make it look like metal. Okay, guys, this was peak at the time, okay? This is the style at the time. Okay, this is how they did things. It only looks a little wonk now because we're comparing it to what we have now, okay? Big respect, big massive respect to the guys who made these models, and I'd kiss you if I had your consent. Now, let's go talk about the shaders and do a little side by side, then we can probably wrap this up and call it a day. Since we're in the PS3/Xbox 360 era, our boy is rocking a diffuse, a normal, and specularity map. And that's that. That's all. 3 textures, all 1K pixels, with all the features neatly packed into one UV block worth of space. So this means that mirrored elements will be sharing the same UV space and stuff like that. You know, same stuff we've been saying since the Squirrel Girl review. This is why you have the lines on his face looking a little more blurry than the ones on his chest. Even though they may have the same size on the texture, they aren't the same size in terms of their UV space and distribution and tiling and all that. This is also another reason why Emma Frost and most game models have separate head models. The head and body are separate, I mean. So it can have its own UV space worth of however many pixels you want the texture sizes to be. Now, remember in the GTA 3 Cloud comparison video when I mentioned that thingy that they used to do with normal maps in 7th gen games where they transfer the data from a high poly mesh to a more optimized version of it? You can see it right here in this model when you take away all the other textures except the normals. The little twirly patterns and the body details are all being done with normals. I'm talking about the ones right here, on the rectangle thing here. Now, let's talk about UV maps and the UV space for a second. If you're a regular viewer on my channel, you've seen me looking at texture files that are always just one block with all the UVs. This is indeed only the tip of the iceberg in actuality, as there is theoretically an infinite number of UV blocks, but most of the models I've looked at have been game models and they have their body parts separate, so you never really get to see it. Until now. I'm so glad that this model has given me the chance to talk about UDIMs. UDIMs are what allow you to access this infinite number of UV spaces. So instead of having one block of UV texture space, you can have more than one. That can then allow you to connect multiple textures to one shader, giving you the ability to decide how many pixels or how much detail you want in specific parts. Like if you want the head to have more detail than the body, you just set it to do two different sets of UDIMs, with the head being 4K and the body being 2K or whatever it is. This is a very simplified explanation of it. There's a bunch of maths and stuff that goes into it, but pretty much the 3D software sort of tags each texture that's supposed to go together and will always put them together in that order when you put them back in the engine, you know? And this is something that can be done by pretty much any old 3D software worth its salt, and I know game engines use it too. I mean, I got this, this is a game model and it has UDIMs, but this not only allows for like easier processing, but like I said, varied texture details, so we can have no more blurry textures in 2025. That's not the only cool thing about the shaders of the remaster model. These shaders go dummy, dude, trust. Along with the 3 previously mentioned textures, the diffuse, specularity, and the normal, this bad boy has 2 types of normal maps. That's a direct normal map, which is just your standard normal map like the one Emma Frost has, and the other is a, if my research serves me right, I got some AI explanations that I don't really fully trust, but a neural network-based normal map that is generated to be adaptable to changing lighting conditions in such cases as a open world game with weather cycles. This one is the one that has been mapped to the UVs because it carries all the major details like these cool skin engravings here that are all across his body and face, which I find so interesting. The larger, more detailed skin bumps and the tonality of it, and even the veins too. Yes, the veins are being controlled by a normal map. The regular normal maps have, just additional pores, sores, and all sorts of other little skin detail to add more depth to the look and feel of it. And they also haven't been mapped to the UVs, which kind of tells me that they're just supposed to be a repeating texture that goes all around the model. The other shaders, which is labeled as M, which I assume was a mask, it reminded me of the ORM map, the Occlusion Roughness Metallic map from the Marvel Rivals models I did, and I applied it in a similar manner, and it just did what it was supposed to. It added the shine and stuff like that as it is. So I'm assuming that that's just that engine's version of a ORM. The normal maps on the armor, though, seems to only have the normals along the metallic parts, which supports my little idea that this is some kind of leather with metal on it, engraved on it, I think. But yeah, that's just what I gathered from this. The model I downloaded, though, didn't have textures for the eyes, but I should have known that since it says bad eyes on the texture file. So not much I can do about that. So with that, I think that's everything. So let's do a quick little side by side, and then I can say adios. Now this is how you remaster a model, okay? You take the artistic liberties that are provided for you by the elimination of previous technical limitations to improve upon and elevate the previous artistic intent of the previous titles, models, and artwork. This is incredible work. This is amazing stuff from both the original and the remaster 3D artists for taking the time and effort to understand the source material and adapt the remaster accordingly. And as we see, this is not a given, and we will continue to see this is not a given as I am not yet done with those remaster models. I'm still coming for Tommy Vercetti and CJ. They ain't safe. But all in all, I am so deeply impressed with this model, and I could honestly talk for hours about it, but I feel like this video is getting long enough as it is, so I'm just gonna wrap it here. So thank you. Thank you for joining me again, and if you enjoyed this video, please, consider subscribing. And if you want to support me more proactively, you could join my YouTube membership or subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $3 a month. So thanks again for getting me over 1,000 subscribers. As always, I wasn't expecting to be here this soon. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'll be doing a 1,000 subscriber Q&A special. So if you have any questions, drop them below and put them with the hashtag 1KQA, and I will answer them in person during the special. So see you in the next one, and stay safe, you guys.